Hello again and welcome back to episode 7 of my mid-school life. Blimey, 2 days. Today is quite a somber video for me to make. I'd just like to say that this bike is completely dedicated to a friend of mine called Perron, who was taken from us last year. He had a bit of a disagreement with his son, and his son decided to stab him, and he's no longer with us. So, Perron, I know you're looking out over me, mate. I know you're there, and I will get on to that in a minute. There's quite a funny little thing to talk about there. So yeah, sorry for the sort of bummer start to the video, but I had to do a video like this. I've been meaning to do it in so long. I'd also like to extend a huge thank you to the guy that made the stickers of Perron after he passed, and we now stick those on our bikes, and every mile we do on those bikes is called a mile for Perron. So God bless him, lovely bloke. Right, so yes, like I said, this deviates again from the mid-school. This is my race bike. I've only got one. I just really wanted one. Race bikes are, to me, absolutely fascinating, incredible. I love the sport of BMX racing. I think we all do. Maybe a little bit, maybe a lot more. But yeah, I really wanted a modern, lightweight BMX race bike. So in 2017, I decided to embark on just that. So it's like I said yesterday, it's not exactly new school because the bike is now sort of 7-8 years old, but it is still very modern in terms of design and the features on the bike. So the frame is a 2016 GT Speed Series. It's a Pro XXL, which is 21.75. I'm 5'10". I find that perfect. It's got a Hope tapered headset on it because it's 1.5 inches at the bottom and 1 1/8 at the top. So you need bigger bearings for the bottom, and if you're running straight tubed forks, you also need a special crown race. So I had to buy that. The bike didn't originally have these forks on it. It had a set of landing gears from the mid-school, but they looked really weird. And then, of course, over the years, I've sort of treated it to better and better parts, and it is now where it's at. Again, I consider this one finished. I'm certainly not going to change anything on it, that's for sure. The fork is a Bombshell F1 carbon fork from around sort of 2009, 2010. Absolutely love the design of this thing. It's beautiful. Always wanted one. Had to play the waiting game because a lot of them are either battered or you can't find them. There's just none left. I think if people didn't race them and break them, then they're in a collection somewhere and they're not for sale. So yeah, it's got that Bombshell fork on it. Parts of it are machined CNC out of aluminium, and then the fork legs are bonded into the dropouts and the top sort of bulk section of the fork. Very unusual fork. Really suits a tapered frame because it is quite huge at the bottom. The stem is a Krupe I-beam, and that's CNC'd. I was looking for one of these for quite a few years. It's funny because when I started getting back into BMX in about 2008, 2009, there was mid-school Krupe stuff everywhere. Like the pedals, the chain rings, the stems, like everything. You could get it all, frames. It was all just sitting on eBay. But then, of course, as the years go by and people started to get more and more into BMX collecting, it just vanishes and it never seems to make its way back unless it's got an absolutely ridiculous price tag attached to it, which is a shame. But yeah, very nice stem. I had 2 on there before this one, but again, like I said in the Morales video, you can't build a bike based on everything that you want for it because you just won't find it. You have to look for it. So the handlebars are Snafu Jackson bars. They were Scotty Cramner's signature bars, and they're very similar to Snafu's other bars like the Illingworth, etc., only the Cranmer bars are chromed. They were the only chrome ones in the range, and they are 28 inches wide, which is quite narrow. Scotty used to cut his bars to that, and so Snafu released his signature bars in that. I think the Illingworths are like 29 or above. They're quite a bit wider. I've got a set of those as well. Maybe one day they'll make it to the channel. Got a box 1 number plate. That only came up about 2 weeks ago. I'd been looking for one for years in purple. Just couldn't find one. Eventually I bought one, and ironically, this ties back to the last video. When it arrived, on the back of the bag it said more large. So obviously this was taken from their liquidation stock, which was just sitting in a warehouse and not for sale. So yeah, that was a nice find. The brake is quite a special brake. It's a TRP Donnie Robinson, as in the Donnie Robinson, the guy that founded Robinson Racing back, I think it was 70s, or was it 80s? I don't know. Like I say, I'm not really up on my old school. It just doesn't do anything for me. That comes with a half carbon lever, which again is very unusual. That came as a set in a huge, great big display box. Very expensive. And I've got an old sort of mid-school stiffener thingamajig on top of it that helps to stiffen the frame. I don't know if they do anything. I just thought it looked quite cool, so I put it on there. It does, however, stop you from sort of catching the brake on your leg if you're getting on and off the bike and stuff like that, so that's cool. I've got a Snafu Astroglide linear cable. I told you I don't cut this, I film it all in one, so that comes with interpretation errors. That's a linear cable. They're pre-stretched and they're harder, the outer's harder, and they're supposed to be better. Again, I don't know, I just wanted the best. Snafu machine bar ends, again in purple. Those were around, like I say, for years. Bankrupt Bike Parts had a whole load of Snafu stuff, and now most of it is gone. There's only the dregs left now. The grips are Odyssey Banton. They're clear, so they look nice on the chrome. They're a bit dirty. I mean, they've been ridden a lot. I will get onto that. I know the bike doesn't look like it's been ridden. Believe me, it has. It's done more miles than any of my other bikes. But again, I will get onto that. The seat post is a nuke-proof pivotal post, and it's really strange. I waited a whole week for that to arrive, and when it arrived, it didn't fit. Bit of investigation led me to realise that it's got an M9 bolt that's sort of offset, not M10 in the middll like every other pivotal post I've ever had. So I had to bugger around with that today, get out the taps and basically recut that thread to 10mm, but it worked. Thank God. I think Perron was on my side again on that one. I've got a Savage plastic saddle, translucent purple. Only bought that about a week ago. At one point, the bike had carbon cranks on it, but unfortunately they weren't forged carbon, so they were quite flexible. Not when pushing down to pedal, but from side to side. I believe it's called lateral. And I wasn't happy with that, and that was why I ended up taking the bike off the road per se and not riding it again in the last sort of 5 or 6 years. So yeah, I've only just put the cranks that are on there. They're CNC cranks. I got those from AliExpress in China for 50 quid with the bottom bracket and the sprocket. Some amazing deals to be had. I just liked them. They're nice and simple. They kind of give me those Jad vibes. Just clean, very clean. Nothing too flashy, nothing too sort of poke out, but they work. And they were cheap, and they came with the bottom bracket, which is a huge bonus. Talking of which, the frame is actually BB30, but came with an FSA sleeve that I've pressed in there for €1, because obviously back in 2017 when I bought this, bought it half price by the way, the frame was brand new. I'd never heard of BB30. I think back then it was quite new, but now everyone's using it. They've renamed it Dub or something like that, and all of the modern mountain bikes and road bikes are all using it now. But obviously to me, it's no good to me. So I pressed in the FSA sleeve. The pedals are Superstar Nano X, British company, CNC machine, made in England. They're sort of racy platform pedals with seal bearings, which is really nice. The front wheel I've had for many years. It's a Shadow Conspiracy Orbis rim, which kind of reminds me of the old Araya rims, like the oval ones. That's got an external Oh, I've gone to the wrong line. I'm sorry. It's a Superstar. No, it's not. It's not one of them either. Total brain fart here. It's a Shadow Conspiracy Orbis rim laced to a Spotlight Superstar hub. There. It was quite a mouthful, and for some reason my eyes kept going up to the line above. I don't know why. The rear wheel was an Alienation Runaway in purple. Again, that's laced to a sealed 10mm hub. I had to have that wheel made. I could not find a purple wheel with a freewheel on the back of it, or like a race cassette. They were all micro sort of 8-tooth things, absolutely useless. So again, that took the bike off the road for another 6 months while I was piddling around upgrading the wheels. The tyres, they're quite rare actually. They're Tioga FS100s, and they were made in that size for stolen bikes, the BMX brand. The only FS100s I can find are all for mountain bikes or 29-inch. I've not seen any others in 20-inch apart from the stolen ones. And to get those, I had to buy a bike for parts, which, I mean, I didn't even realise they were those tyres. I bought the bike for like all the other parts to build a new school sort of rider, and they were on it. But they were staggered, and I thought, well, that's a bit strange for a street bike. I prefer to have the same size tyres on a street bike, but there you go. So yeah, they've just been kicking around. It's KMC chain. Now, basically, like I said, in 2016 to 2017, I was in a much better physical condition than I am now. I had no onset of arthritis. I hadn't gained much weight. So my knees were still good, my shoulder was still perfect, my elbow was sort of bad because that happened in 2000. But I could still ride, and what I would do, I lived in a ground floor flat on the beach, so I would come out sort of morning to early afternoon, ride 6 miles on the GT, and then of an evening a mate of mine from around the corner would pick me up and we'd go down to Southsea and we would ride the park on a street bike. So I did that religiously through some of 2017 and then most of 2018. So like I said, this bike has probably got hundreds upon hundreds of miles on it. It just doesn't look like it because a lot of it has been replaced since 2018. Now in 2018, down at Southsea Park, I had a bad crash, lost a lot of skin, and it was then that I realised that gravity always wins, and I was maybe getting a bit too old to be doing sort of stupid bell end stuff and riding bowls and stuff like that. Now I had these grand ideas of going down to the bottom of the bowl and whipping up sort of really fast onto the side and riding it sideways with the gravity holding me on, and that totally worked until I ran out of bowl and realised that the whole line that I had planned was not really a good idea because there was nowhere to go apart from down, and so down I went. And I lost a lot of skin on the way because, again, like a complete idiot, I had on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. So yeah, that was a lesson learned. I also found out that when you get to sort of 40 odd years old, everything takes much longer to heal and you don't bounce like you used to. So yeah, that was when I stopped riding sort of anything consideringly close to sort of dangerous, and just started riding just for leisure. And then obviously as the years have gone on, the knees have gotten worse, the shoulders gotten terrible, and now it's sort of practically nothing. But I've always kept my race bike because, like I said, I've only got one. I only wanted one. I doubt I'll ever have another one, although I do like the sort of modern carbon frames, but I really don't need the cost again. This wasn't a cheap outing. I didn't really score any value parts for the bike. It was very, very expensive. Apart from the frame. The frame was half price, like I said. It was £200 from Skate Pro back in 2017. Now, again, I want to just give Perron another mention. All day, the sun has been in and it's looked pretty grim outside. It's been like that for about 2 days actually. We had a really serious heat wave and then the temperature dropped off and the sun was nowhere to be seen. It was all clouds, and it was the same today, and I was thinking, man, it's a bit of a bummer that I've been waiting for this seat post to finish the bike, to get it out there and take the photos, to make the video, and now we've got no sun. And as soon as I stepped out of the back door, the clouds broke and the sun came out. And then I looked down, and there was Perron on my number plate looking up at me. So yeah, quite a special moment. And then it's funny because as I turned the bike around, the sun went in, and I thought, oh man, I'm not going to be able to get the last sort of photographs of the left hand side. And then as I'd placed it down and turned around and opened the camera app, the sun came out again. So yeah, I think some things are just meant to be. And again, I love you, Perron. I'll see you on the other side, brother. You ride in peace, and you all take care now. Bye bye.